Hey friends out there in YouTube land, Robert Hamm here with Hamm Camera. Today is another backer update. I thought I'd share with you guys something a little bit different and kind of give you a tour of the office here so you'd know exactly what's going on, where it's going on, and sometimes I get questions like that. So if you're ready, let's actually kind of jump right into it. I'm going to turn the camera around now. Okay, friends, you can see this is actually the workspace where everything happens. Over here, I've got a DLP printer that's been giving me some troubles. Of course, computer, second monitor, all my cool pictures of my son that I really enjoy looking at. Inspiration up top. I just like that little copyright notice. Some pictures of Hamm cameras. I was going through the design process. Lots of times people want to know about like what keeps me sane and things. So just some of my other cameras that I pick up and toy with. Some of the ones that I use for regular work. Moving on along, we'll go to my other bookcase. And here's a lot of the stuff that I'm using for actually printing up the cameras extra, like PLA and stuff like that, and all the different finishing options and stuff that I use, like my resins and things. Looking down here, you can see some additional tools, a couple of different cameras, boxes with full of parts, and then like slips. I've got some receipts there that people have paid me for doing different work. Another printer right there. Of course, a scanner where I scan all my stuff. We're actually going to come back to this area later and kind of talk about that, but let's move over to the left. And these aren't all my guitars, but they're guitars from my family. Of course, when we look, you can see it's a very cluttered kind of room. But I like to be able to just kind of turn around and pick up a guitar or a ukulele and play. It's very helpful for me. And I like classical flamenco guitar, so there's a flamenco guitar right there and several nice ukes. Les Paul down here, and enjoy that. This is where Ira's desk is, but it's been overrun. That's my youngest, so right now I've got to kind of clean that up. Some filament boxes for when I'm using things that require filament. And then here you're going to see a bunch of the printers that are moving forwards. Right now you're going to hear some noise because I've got a printer that's going, but we'll get into this here in just a second. Today I've actually been working on just finalizing a design for the winding keys that works really nice, and I'll talk about that in a second. But notice how the winding keys are two pieces, and don't ask me why it wouldn't focus. A couple of the machines over here have different hot ends in them. This one's good for PETG, although it needs a recalibration right now. The rest of the three machines over here are doing quite well for printing. And over here we've got flexible filament. This is where the camera strap adapter station is going. As we look a little further over, we can see Robert's desk. That's my youngest, my oldest son. That's where he sits and does his work and things like that. His little schedule that's right there, and some of the books that he uses. And of course, I'm a martial artist. I've been in martial arts forever, so here's my uniforms and stuff that's all up there. This is my father was a United States Marine, and big part of my life. There's this United States Marine Corps cover, and his ashes are up there. He's no longer with us. You can just see that right now we're really quite cluttered. So let's actually move back over here, and I want to show you a little bit about. Okay, so we're back. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple things that I go through on the computer, and I definitely will have to apologize for the humming noise in the background. Those of you that don't like hearing it, just deal with it or don't pay attention. I'm going to go ahead and get signed in. So what I wanted to actually show you was a little bit right here, and I'm not going to zoom in too close, not because I don't want to share with you the designs, but because I don't really have the time for that today. I just kind of wanted to give you an update. I've been working on putting together assembly packages that print well on my printers. That way I can put all the stuff out quickly for you. So up here in Fusion, you can see I've got, in this case, all my winding and shutter block information is up here. And so for the shutter block assembly, I need things like the shutter arm. I also need this is the shutter rotor strut. This is, of course, the shutter block itself with the guide rail as well as the aperture in the shutter block. We have to have special pins that actually hold the springs onto the levers that are being printed, as well as several different sizes that fit on each one. This is a large pin that holds things together. The purpose of these are to be able to snap together and then use a type of CA glue that then seals them shut so that they fit right and maintain good tolerances. And they're the assembly pieces. Of course, when you have all those things together, you get something that looks like this, a completed unit. Now I've printed it in several different materials here so that you can see. Also, I've got a see-through, a translucent shutter rotor, which is pictured back there, so that you can just kind of see how these things work and how the spring moves past the shutter. Notice as the lever moves, the actual opening of the shutter actuates, and that's pretty cool. What I've been working with recently are different springs in order to give more or less play. This works really well. So this is a completed unit that you see right there. Those are the pieces that put it together. Getting it to that point is a lot harder than what it may seem. It's not like it's just you just put it together and it's all said and done. No, you have to make sure that each piece prints properly, which is done alone, and then you can put together an assembly. So what I've done here is in Cura, I'll bring this up so that you can see it up here. Okay, in Cura, actually that may not be as helpful as it was. Layer view, solid view. You can see that I've created an assembly package. I don't know why it's this big. Move it over like that. You can see that I've created an assembly package with all the pieces right there. Those pieces themselves will print. That means that I can get a couple of things out of the way. I can know how long it's going to take to print, how much material I'm going to use, and thereby how much each print costs me. Also, it means that I'll be able to print an assembly with enough redundant pieces to make sure that the prints can print on a one-to-one. So things that often fail are actually the smaller pieces, specifically when not using the DLP process. They have to be printed several different times. So normally I print an additional small pieces like the pins because they have tolerances that are very specific. So printing several of them together on one assembly means that I'm guaranteed to have at least one that works right. Usually with the pins I've got about a 90% tolerance failure, so 9 out of 10 or 10% tolerance failure, so 9 out of 10 will print well. So that means that if I print several of these on a board, I'm more than happy to get them all together. Continuing on, I want to show you something else that's kind of cool. Let's go ahead and just bring this back down here. What I've been working on also recently, and I hate to talk while my face is turned away, is actually the winding knobs. So when you look at the winding key, this winding key is a friction fit piece. I know that it's really tiny and maybe even hard for you to see. It's a friction fit piece. Most of these pieces that go in and pull out are friction fit pieces, and so it's going to have to endure quite a bit of wear and tear. That's totally okay because as a DIY kind of project, we want these to be user fixable. Lots of times when the original pieces that I had made started to wear, I would just spray paint them to give them that level of thickness once again, or I would also or just put a little piece of medical paper tape on them, which you can find in any first aid kit, like $1 a roll at the dollar store. You know, it's just very thin paper tape, and that allows the clearances to work. And what that does for us, let me see if I've got something here. Let me go grab a piece for you real quick. What that... Oh, maybe it's in here. Yeah, okay. So what that does for us is it just gives us the ability for the tolerance of these pieces to go into a multiple different kinds of 120 film spools. However, with the new roller, like I've got, it might be here. Yeah, it sticks on much more friction fit because of a particular angle, and that's pretty neat. I'll show it to you right here. The ends of the piece are angled outwards from the center support right there. They're angled outwards, and that means that they will wear in a position that will eventually wear to the proper tolerance. So they'll be stiff over time, and then once they hit the proper tolerance for the type of film that you're shooting, most of these 120 film spools have the same maker. Even if they don't have the same maker, they have very similar tolerances because it's a standard. So what will happen is it will start real tight, you know, almost hard to get in when you first start using it, and then over time the ends will wear so that it has the proper fit. Now I've tested these, and because of that angle in there, it actually just makes it work better and last longer. What a really simple engineering solution for this. Now over time you may need to use the paper tape trick like I talked about, but that's just... It's just kind of like how it is. I don't understand why my stuff keeps on acting all crazy here for you. I'm trying to adjust it. I guess it doesn't really matter so much. We're pretty much done right now. I'll turn this off. That'll help quite a bit. So anyways, the process has been exactly like what you've seen. I sit back, I design something, I then print, I test print, and then once it comes to the spot where it's ready to share with you, I go ahead and make an assembly, and that way the assembly can work. I guess another thing to kind of talk about, I got one other one somewhere around here. I've been, let's turn that back off. I've been working on one other part for these knobs. It keeps turning on because my mouse keeps getting moved. Notice I've got flat knobs that you can see, and also notice that I've got round knobs. The reason's quite simple. Let's go ahead and just take this for instance. Put the cartridge with one spool in here. Okay, there we go. Now we've got a spool in the cartridge, and this is just a regular black box. We can go ahead and put the side in. So now you notice we can have a flat side, right? And then we can have a winding side. So that gives you the ability to have this so that it can lay quite a bit flatter than trying to flop like that on one side. Also, it just makes it a little bit less bulky, and it gives you some opportunity to customize it a little bit. I really like the flat winding keys. You only need one side of winding keys. Of course, you could have winding keys with the knobs on all sides if you chose to, I suppose. But it just makes it real nice, and it makes it easy for tensioning when you're going to tension your film and stuff like that, because your thumb can stay on this flat dial. Just something kind of cool. And there's actually quite a bit more going on. I guess the final update here for you will be to kind of let you know that I'm going to be with the Film Photography Project August 4th in Findlay, Ohio, and giving a demonstration with live units. We will not be selling any box cameras at the location in Findlay, Ohio, and the FPP does their walkthrough and their annual meetup. But pre-orders are still going on over at BackerKit, and I'm getting ready to open up additional pre-orders over on Indiegogo, something I probably should have done sooner. But that's where we are right now. I hope that you've enjoyed this update. I'm Robert Hamm with, of course, Hamm Camera Company. You guys helped bring the box back. I want to thank you for watching and remind you that I'll catch you on the flip side.